we sold it to one investor from a wholesaler.
Okay.
And he put in the disclosures, there was a fire, I don't know, maybe meth. And I'm like, oh my God, so we're seeing this after we're done and we have to provide those disclosures to the new buyer.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't know what the fire was because he bought it from the wholesaler that sold it.
And he wrote down, I don't know, maybe meth.
Yeah. So then every buyer, even though we have all of the abatement notices and everything,
right? Everything has been fixed. It's
there was
clean.
Asbestos. There wasn't any evidence of substance. But geez, I mean, it took forever to get the right buyer to be like, okay, I realized that was just his assumption.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Lockbox. I'm your host, Stephanie Zalowski. Cameron is out of town this week, but she will be back next week. So we're very excited to have her back then. Today, I am joined by another agent friend of mine. He is actually the owner of Big Block Platinum Realty. He's going to tell us a little bit about that. He's a father to an adorable daughter. You just have one, yes?
Just one.
She's so cute. A sailor. I need to know more about that. He is an investor. And I know he's got some stories for us. So Tyler Martin, welcome to Behind the Lockbox.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was kind of random, but I'm proud of you for doing this new initiative.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know.
Super cool.
I hit you up last week and I was like, hey, you want to come on the podcast?
Yeah.
I knew you'd have some stories.
It's getting more popular. I think it's the new norm now. We're actually setting up a podcast studio in our corporate office in San Diego here. So
that's really cool.
So agents can come in and just get on their equipment, knock it out, video it, and get some exposure and talk about what they want to talk about.
That's amazing. I know we're here in my living room, so I just made it nice and chill for everybody. I started this too, just because, and everyone who has heard this in past episodes have heard me say this, but this was born out of something for me that I just wanted something fun to do of the world that we live in is pure chaos, right? And so I really just thought that it would be something fun for all of us to get together and just tell our war stories because we know we have them.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. So on that note, when you came in, you were like thinking of the stuff you were going to talk about. And there was something about a squatter that was here, not up in LA. So that was here in San Diego, right?
Yeah, I live and work in San Diego.
Okay, yep.
But I franchised Big Block to Los Angeles. My business partner lives up there.
Congratulations.
And we have the West LA office, so we're growing in agents.
That's
and
cool.
The 100% commission platform people are really into and the full support. So we're excited for that.
Congrats.
But yeah, I do business in San Diego mainly, but I do have a few deals going on in
Very
LA.
cool.
Yeah.
So the squatter was here in San Diego.
The squatter, yeah. I did come pretty much unprepared because I didn't know what you wanted to
That's
talk
okay.
about. But,
I'm going to put you on the spot and it will come to you as it does.
Yeah, I've been licensed since 2004. So I was a lender for 10 years.
Okay.
And when I turned into agency as an agent, I basically was just getting some deals and stopped doing the loans, hung my license with my friend's brokerage, little boys club, learned from these millionaire guys, and then eventually went on to Big Block. But
very cool.
I was an investor agent, so I was working with off-market flips, assignments, wholesale deals, just development things. I call it the black market of real estate because a lot of just regular agents don't really know how to dip into that sort of thing.
And this
with
was
investors.
back, so you started in 2004. So this was really back in in the heyday. All that stuff was really happening too after the crash in 2007, 2008, right? Like, were you working with flips and stuff back then too?
Yeah. So it would be probably 2000.
I know we're aging us. Yeah.
I'm thinking 13.
Yeah. Okay.
I flipped over into being an agent.
That's cool.
My broker at the time, he lived in Bay Park over here up on the top of the hill.
Yep.
And we were doing flips and I had, a contracting group and I'd find them. We call it bird dogging, finding like the fixers.
Yeah.
He would be the money guy, my GC, general contractor would do the work. But we would drive up and down his street and he'd be like, I want that house. I looked up the guy. I don't know where he is. Like, he's a ghost, and I have a data system, so I found out who he was. He was in Canada.
Cool. Oh, wow.
So, and passing by a few times, I saw this truck in the driveway, and I'm like, I got to just go door knock. you know,
like somebody's there. I just got to knock on the
somebody's
door.
there. No one's ever there.
Wow.
It's just literally like an abandoned mid-century modern
Did
house.
it look like it had been lived in? Like, did it look nice, or was it really just kind of...
No, just totally beat up. But the thing about it is, it's on the slope of Ticonderoga, so the views...
Oh my God, I know exactly
the
what that
electrical
is. Yes.
poles were going down.
Yep.
And you could see TJ, the Bay, La Jolla, everything. So it's the best view lot for a builder.
Yeah, yeah.
So I door knock it, and you know, this big guy comes in. He's got his family there, and he's like, "What can I help you do there, eh?" just like
So
insane.
Canadian.
Everything after he would say something like, "Your name's Tyler, eh?" You know, and I was just
like,
holding my laughter. You know, just like, "Hey, yeah, that's my name there."
Yeah, that's my name. Yeah. That's so
but
funny.
Befriended him, told him what I do, what I could offer him, some different options with, you know, selling it for him, what price point he wanted.
Yeah.
We signed a listing contract, got it, and showed it to probably like 100 people because, you know, it really had a lot of information you had to disclose on what's possible with this floor plan, the layout, no coastal commission, zoning, this and that. We ended up selling it to my friend who built this monstrosity of an awesome, like, modern house with a pool and a deck and all these things.
Beautiful.
But, you know, in the interim showing the house, it was, you know, down the street is Marina. And you have some bars and restaurants and some transients and homeless.
Yep.
And, you know, every so often, it was 3 times actually, I would show it. And this was on slab, but it was had a crawl space on the second part of the half of the house going down.
With when it's on the slope. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it was like almost like a walk-in type of crawl space.
Okay.
So the floorboards were all crickety and messed up and stuff. So there was this girl that came by once, first time, and she's in the back, and I smell cigarettes. So I'm like, someone's got to be here.
Oh God.
And I go in the back, and
as a female agent, that's like terrifying. I'm like, oh my God, who's here?
Right. I mean, and I know agents that like have carry permits with you know, guns now because they go to a lot of flips like I do, and you know,
don't know.
you can it could be anything in there.
Yeah.
You could have prostitution, heroin, drugs. You could
all
have
of it.
you know, you could have just kids just partying, whatever.
Right.
But this gal was just sleeping.
She wasn't doing any of those things. She was just
honestly,
sleeping.
she wouldn't even wake up when I tried to wake her up. She was just.
Where was she? Was she in like the crawl space?
No, the back room. Sorry, I skipped over that. The back room. She's lying on the old futon. So. And I wake her up. I'm like, look, I got a showing. I'm the realtor. You can't be here. Are you okay? Can I help you? And she was like 18, 19.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, hey, how did you get in here? By the way, 'cause I lock everything.
Right.
So she came through the crawl, moved the floorboards over, came up into the living room, and then went back.
Way.
So this happened 2, maybe 3 more times.
Same girl.
And she just had nowhere to go.
Oh,
and you know,
so
I was totally
sad.
cordial with her and helped her out. And
good for you.
When I'm showing my flippers, this stuff, I'm like, we've seen this before, Tyler.
They're like, this is nothing new. Yeah, it happens a lot.
We'll go look over here while you handle your business.
Yep. Oh my God. So she eventually left.
Yeah. And then the thing is, you know, when I'm leaving, I see her walking down the street, and it was like this very, very kind of upsetting kind of feeling where I'm like, oh my God, I just put this girl out on the street. I think I gave her like a few bucks that I had in my pocket, but she was just like, she wouldn't talk to me that much. She was just like very agreeable and like,
and just would kind of leave and just needed. It's wild. We've actually had a couple people on the podcast come on and unfortunately, I mean, I think you and I both know, like, the homeless situation here in San Diego has gotten pretty bad. I mean, it's not quite LA, and you've been up in LA recently, obviously, with your office up there, but it's gotten pretty bad. And there has been, not all of them are like that. You know what I mean? Right. Some of them are scary. And I've heard, I mean, I had another friend of mine, they haven't come on the podcast yet, actually, but on Instagram, they had posted where they were at a property and it was out in East County somewhere, and they had a lockbox on the property, and they had an agent go in to show it, and the agent walks in with their clients, and there are 2 guys sitting in the living room smoking crack, and they're like, this is our house, you can't come in. And he's like, like, wait, what? Like, I'm here for a showing. And they're like, no one told us. And they just like acted like they own the place. So they call the agent, they're like, hey, you've got tenants here? They're like, no, the house is vacant and staged. Like, there's no tenants living there. And he's like,
kicking it on the stage.
Well, they're smoking crack in your living room, so I think people are there. And we're like, oh my God, what? Like, it happens. It really does. And it's unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. So,
and this particular house, I did put it on the market because I wanted to get the most attention and higher dollar from my client, the seller. but I do off market stuff all the time. So you never really know what you're going into. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah. And I've seen other agents that, I've just literally seen them post stuff and they're like, okay, we're sitting out front, and they're like literally recording, kind of not them, but like themselves, like sitting out front because there's people in the house that aren't supposed to be there, but it's like a vacant flip that they're trying to get into or, going to buy, and they want to like be able to scope out the situation, but they don't know what they're walking into. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a female agent, I could never, but
No,
anyway.
I mean, I've even seen some brokerages and different things where they're doing self-defense classes for agents, just if you encounter like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. My grandpa's so funny. He's always like, you're carrying a gun, right? And I'm like, no, Grandpa, I'm not carrying a gun. I do have mace though, and it looks like a pen, but yes, I have mace with me. Yeah, I haven't run into anything honestly recently. I have a teardown listing here, and I think I was on Caravan. I think you saw it over here on.
I did a few weeks ago.
Oh my God. And a couple weeks ago, I walked in to do a showing, and the family doesn't live here. They don't stay here.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over. I didn't tell them because, again, they haven't been here in months, and we let them know, hey, we had 5 showings this week or whatever. But I just didn't communicate on this one particular morning. And I pull up and I see a different car in the driveway, but it's not one that's normally been here. And I just had this like feeling, right? And I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I go up and I put the code in on the kitchen lock, and I open the door, and I just get hit with like cigarette smoke. Like I'm smelling. And first of all, no one lives there. The kitchen cabinets are open. Like all this stuff is out. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And I immediately just like close the door because I'm like, oh my God, somebody broke in. Turns out he had family staying there that had been, which I was like, lovely. But I was like, my heart was racing. I called. Someone broke into the house. You got to meet me here, because I wasn't going to go in by myself. You know what I mean? But it happens.
I mean, even here in La Jolla, you'd be surprised.
Yes. Do you remember, this came up on an episode a couple weeks ago. Do you remember the girl that was driving around in like a silver Lexus, and she was doing like naked yoga in backyards?
No, just using people's houses.
Yes.
And just setting up like...
She would be in the pool or like doing... It was just like, oh my God. Like we talked about that a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know if you had ever remembered that, but that was a few years ago.
She organizes naked yoga?
No, she just like does it herself. And then she's like, get out of here. And people are like, what do you mean? This is my listing. Like, what do you mean get out of here? And she's like in the pool. But this was a few years ago, and I actually drove a silver Lexus at that time, and there was like an email going on, and people were like, Stephanie, is that you? I'm like, no, it's not me. But yeah, that was pretty funny. So
funny.
Oh my God. What else have you walked? Have you ever walked in on any crazy situations?
Well, I mean, I have this deal that I'm working on in East County too.
Okay.
And it's basically, they were my clients. I sold some land for the guy.
Okay.
He died. I was working with his daughter. And I do a lot of probates and trust stuff through my trust attorney and those types of clients. Yeah. So
can be difficult.
You have to be a marriage counselor, a psychotherapist, and an agent all at the same time, and
all of it.
And he ended up selling it off market to a wholesaler. The tenants are friends with me because I worked with them in coming to the house on the land sale through the daughter.
Right.
And I'm explaining to them, because the brother and the sister are fighting.
Yeah.
I worked with the sister. The brother's taking over the trustee. So the tenants are getting kicked out.
It's a dance.
He's not going to pay the daughter. She's like, oh my God, he won't listen to me. And I'm like, I know, I'm trying to tell him he's actually selling it to a wholesaler that's selling it to another guy I know for another $100,000. And you guys are losing all this money.
Did he know that that's what he was doing? Did he understand?
I explained the process of what he was getting into, because he basically picked up a cold call, when people saw the death. And then they call the siblings.
To see,
they have like a little dialing station. They just go right after you. So, but they're good at it. They pick up a lot of stuff.
They pick up a lot of stuff.
But now it's all going to like, hell, because, the tenants aren't going to move out and they're going to sue them. If I facilitated it, and
none of that would have happened.
Yeah, everything they would have got more money.
Yep.
My buyer actually would have taken the tenant.
So wait,
I would have relocated myself.
This is happening now.
Yeah. So I'm just I put myself out of it for a little bit.
You have to.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole tenant moratorium that we had.
Yep.
Where you couldn't have tenants leave. And so that was another issue in itself. And actually, I have a listing coming up here in La Jolla, and the tenants just moved out. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to walk the property tonight. Mm-hmm. They just moved out, 1.5 years in the making. It took us a year and a half of like because they were, you know, month to month and they weren't in a lease, and with the moratorium, you couldn't kick anybody out. And so it can get contentious.
Yeah.
And then to put family on top of that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, usually these tenants, and I have a duplex in LA that I'm selling. It's been months because the back tenant won't let me show it. The owner's like, don't disturb them. And the front lady lets me show, but the back doesn't. It's a $2 million 2-on-1.
Right.
You know, in Westwood. So,
which is a great area, but they're not.
It's awesome. It's an awesome house. It's an old house.
It's a good building.
But
like
the owner hasn't fixed it up. She's an 80-year-old gal down here.
Yep.
And, you know, she's really feisty, like old Italian lady.
I love it.
I'm from New York, so I'm like,
You understand.
I know how to deal with you know, that type of personality. But, you know, it is what it is. It's never easy. I have new agents coming on board with our LA office and my team here where I talk to people. It's like, just work your referrals, work your sphere of influence, call people, say, hey, how you doing? Did you know I'm doing this now? And, you know, it's not like leads are just going to come to you and you're going to be this luxury agent overnight. And,
no, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah. And it's, you know, you got your highs and your lows. So,
boy, did we ever have our highs and lows. My God, talk about it. Oh, so what about, do you do open houses?
I do. If I have a listing, I will always do the open house.
I love it.
I was involved. I invest in flips, and I have buy and holds around the U.S. where long-term holds. You know,
that's great.
You know, I make a little bit of money. I save it. I use it for a down payment for an out-of-state, you know, purchase. For
what other states are you doing that in? Does it just depend?
It's, you know, these just kind of fell in my lap.
Okay.
But now I'm more educated on, you know, what has the long-term tenants and the rent policies and the landlord rules.
Like the best places to kind of
like I bought a 4-unit
in
Texas like 4 years ago.
Amazing.
I make like $2,000 a month. It was $385, and now it's worth, you know, $7. But I make money every month on my debt service, and these are long-term tenants.
Yeah.
But the taxes in Texas are high.
They are.
So you're paying, you know, like almost 3%. You know, $11,000 a year,
right?
On a $385K purchase, which is just insane,
right?
But
it is.
I built a house in Missouri on the lake because I had friends that moved to Branson.
Oh, cool!
And I was looking for like a little investment lake house, and I found this builder building these massive lake lodges.
Wow!
So I looked at the tourism and, you know, what it could go for nightly. So all of them are, you know, rented out short term.
That's cool.
I went out there with my wife. I finished it with 3 weeks, furnishing it, getting deliveries of furniture. You know, cracking the whip.
Tyler, that's amazing.
Yeah, cracking the whip on the GC to finish all the punch list stuff. And it's a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bath overlooking Table Rock Lake. And I'm fully booked for the summer. Fully booked.
Fantastic.
Through this cool little property management called Evolve. They're national, and they only take 10%. And they got a good platform, so I like them.
That's really cool.
And then I'll go out there and use it for 2 weeks out of the year, visit my friends, go on the boat, and it's very family friendly. But that's all I have. That's all I have for long term stuff.
That's cool.
And then the short term stuff is the flipping thing. But I mentioned that because you mentioned something about investments.
Yeah. So what, like, you started obviously in mortgages, and so now when you're doing investments, are you investing in property here and like flipping it and selling it yourself, or are you working with, how are you doing all that?
Right. So I used to actually put my own money in with my group.
Okay.
And be like a 1/3 partner.
Yep.
And I invested with some other, you know, flippers.
Yeah.
One right now actually just went really south, so we're in legal.
Sorry.
But now all I'm doing is just bird dogging, finding those fixers.
Yeah.
I have, you know, 5 guys on, or I can count on my hand, I should say, that I actually trust that will like do it, close, let me resell it. Yep. So I think you mentioned open houses, and that's what I stemmed on.
Oh, yes.
So, you know, I did like 10 open houses for this one flip I was involved in.
Yeah.
And it was in my neighborhood. I met everybody in my community.
Which is gold.
Kept in touch with everybody.
Yep.
If I see something come on in the area, I'll call that agent. I'm like, hey, can I do your open house? I live over here on this street. And, you know, and I get to meet everybody, and I get to see what their needs are, what they're looking for, what they've seen. And if you're not talking to people like that, like belly to belly, you really don't know the market or what people are doing.
Right.
So I hear everything. Like, I have 5 offers. My agent sucks. You know, I want to work with you. Hey, boom, I just picked up a buyer.
100%.
You know, just you hear the war stories from the front line, I guess you can say. But I always do open houses. Like I have a new listing in Vista. I have to go up there and put my yard signs in.
I know. You sent me that one, and I wish it would have worked for my client, but it's not.
The lemonade berry.
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that a great name?
That name, oh my God, when you pitched it at Reba, what is the address again? You don't have to say the number, but.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll promote it.
Go for it.
It's
Yeah.
for sale.
Actually, yes, it's for sale right now.
1812 Lemonade Berry Lane.
Lemonade Berry
California.
Lane. It is so good. When you pitched it that day, we were all rolling. Like,
it's a new
great little
development
neighborhood.
7 years ago. And these guys, speaking of open houses, these guys, I had a listing on Mount Soledad that I sold about 8 years ago.
okay.
And they came in from LA,
Oh, wow.
no agent, didn't buy that house,
Right.
but I sold that, kept in touch with them.
Yep.
I co-listed an LA house with their friend agent up there, sold their
cool.
house, moved them into this Vista house, this new development 7 years ago.
Wow.
They're kind of over it. It's boring because
Sure.
it's just like, it's like a 40 suburb
Yeah,
track.
it's
in
very
the middle
suburbs
of
out
like,
there.
Yeah,
Yep.
just a private area.
Yeah.
And so they want to move back. So they
cool.
call me to sell their house again. And
I am obsessed with the address.
now we're selling it for $700K more.
That's
So,
amazing. I mean, yeah, that happens.
and that's
right?
7 years, so that's pretty good profit for them.
Very good profit for
Yeah.
them. Where are they going next?
They're moving back to Palo Alto in LA,
wow.
where they originally were.
Yeah. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But I always do open houses, especially because you got to
Yes.
show your seller and your client, look, I'm not just sending Joe Schmo over there
Right.
with cookies and a
Yep.
sign-in sheet. you know?
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, again, even doing showings, right? Like you do a lot of your own showings as well, which is so huge. I mean, we do that. And that's where, I mean, I've had at open houses, people come through and, you know, they're like, oh, you're the listing agent. You're here. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's my listing. Of course I'm
getting
here.
paid to sell. I mean, in that particular one, they're old and they don't want a lockbox.
Right.
And they were actually talking to an agent that rubbed them the wrong way. They said, oh, I remember Tyler Martin. Let's
Yep.
call him. And I'm like, no lockbox. We're just going to bust out a huge marketing campaign all week after the 4th.
Yep.
Get everybody there for the open.
That's amazing.
Hopefully get offers in, and then I'll accompany.
You will. It'll sell.
Because they don't want just an agent coming
Yeah.
in with their buyer. Like,
Yeah.
hey, is Tuesday at 2:00 okay
Right.
for... you
Well,
know?
here's the other thing. When that happens, when you do, like, look, no shade to anyone who puts a lockbox on their property. We've done it from time to time, but I just find that when I'm there, that's our job,
You can
right?
sell it.
You got to sell the
Yeah.
property. There's so much that, sure, you can be like, yeah, that's a light bulb and a doorknob and whatever. Like,
I want to tell them about the solar batteries and
Exactly.
the neighbors.
Or the upgrades
and
that they've done
The
or
homeowner's
whatever.
insurance that you have to get on this house with Cal
Yes.
Fair and
yes.
the transferability.
Well, now there's all kinds of
I know.
insurance happening.
I knock
and
out everything. Pre-home inspections, appraisal. I get everything. So it's like,
fantastic.
here's everything
Here's
you
everything.
need.
Yep.
This is our price.
Which is so transparent. Yeah. I mean, and again, inventory is so low. To have agents out there like you that are actually doing that is
Yeah.
it's huge, because that's definitely what, you know, our team does as well. Like, we want to be there to actually sell it. Behind the Lockbox is sponsored by Property Showcase Group. Property Showcase Group has a team of creatives, directors, producers, editors, marketing specialists, and designers that work in tandem to tell and share stories of the built environment. Whether you're looking for full-service production or simply just in content creation, Property Showcase Group can help take your business to the next level. To learn more or to contact Property Showcase Group to schedule a consultation, you can find them at propertyshowcasegroup.com. That's spelled PROPERTYSHOWCASEGROUP.com. PropertyShowcaseGroup.com. So you do your own open houses, which is great. Has anything random happened to you, like at any showings or anything terrifying?
At showings where I'm doing an
Yeah.
open? Well, one house I had, there was a fire in the house. So
Like during when you had the listing before
it was renovated and
Okay.
this flip. And,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have to disclose
Of
there
course.
was a fire,
Of
and
course.
here's all the documents if you're interested in the disclosures.
Yep.
And we sold it to one investor from a wholesaler.
Okay.
And he put in the disclosures, there was a fire, I don't know, maybe meth. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're seeing this after we're done, and we have to provide those disclosures to the new buyer.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't know what the fire was because he bought it from the wholesaler that sold it.
And you wrote down, I don't know,
he said
maybe meth.
Yeah. So then every buyer, even though we have all of the abatement notices and everything, that
Right,
show
everything has
that
been fixed, it's
there was
clean.
asbestos, there wasn't any
Right.
evidence of substance. but geez, I mean, it took forever to get the right buyer to be like, okay, I realized that was just his assumption. And this wasn't like, and this is a suburban area. It wasn't like there was a cook lab in this house or anything. So,
oh my God.
But it was really difficult to get over that hurdle. So
that's so challenging.
Put yourself on the buyer's side.
Yes.
It's like they want to know what's in their walls if they have kids.
Yep.
They're like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to be comfortable here just reading that with the unknown.
Maybe meth. I don't know.
Yeah,
jeez. Oh my God. People are so crazy. I know. It's so challenging sometimes to get some of that stuff done. It's wild. Oh my God.
But always over disclose and
yes.
never put yourself in a bad situation.
Yes. No, it's true. It's very true. And it's good to be forthcoming with that stuff. Absolutely. So have you ever had any like haunted stuff happen or anything like that?
No, I don't.
I've only had it once.
Okay, let's hear it.
It was actually a listing here in La Jolla, and it was one of the first hospitals by Ellen Browning Scripps.
Okay.
And they turned it into like a vacation rental. And my photographer thought that he had seen something. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I just saw a black shadow whoosh by. And I just got like an eerie feeling. You know what I mean? So
the house was an old hospital. Okay.
From like the 1900s.
Okay.
And now it was like a Victorian vacation rental.
Gotcha.
And like, you know what I mean? So you've never had anything like that.
So did he take pictures and like, where there's like,
there was an orb on one of the photos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Which we were just like, which I fully believe in that stuff. I don't know if you do.
Yeah. You know, why
totally
not?
Do.
You know? I mean, my mother's side, like my grandmother and aunt.
Yeah.
They were always into like horoscopes and, like just spirits and stuff. So my great grandmother, I think that's maybe 3 or 4 grades behind.
Sure.
She actually wrote a book in the 1800s on like horoscopes.
No
and,
way.
Like this published book. I have it in my safe at home. It's super cool.
That is super cool.
But as a kid, they would always like tell me stories and stuff. And I thought, looking back, it was maybe just for fun, but why not?
Maybe there's something to that. Yeah, we've had quite a few guests come on and say that they've run into that. And that's the only one I've run into. Not like I've never run into anything where a client has had, the house has been haunted and that's why they're selling
just
or
doors just shutting on them.
Can you imagine? I would lose it. Oh my God. I would be so terrified. Oh my God. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Well, okay. To wrap up, we play a fun little game.
Fun game.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's called Punch List, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Rapid fire, just first thing that comes to your mind, basically. Okay? So the first one is, and this, we may have kind of gone over this a little bit, maybe something else will come to your mind. What is the craziest or pettiest thing that has ever killed or almost killed one of your deals?
Fighting over furniture.
Isn't that good?
And there was one time I actually sold my mother's house in Arizona.
Yeah.
And
where in Arizona does she live?
Surprise.
Okay, yeah. I'm from
Phoenix.
I'm from Chandler.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were moving her out here, and my friend was a broker out there, so he did the sale.
Sure.
I'm not licensed in AZ, but
yeah, me either.
He literally, I didn't realize my mom had like all this like, because she was into like Native American stuff.
Oh, cool.
And Southwest kind of motif.
Yeah.
And she had all this like Navajo stuff that her designer bought. And when
Expensive
I said all this furniture is included and blue taped everything.
Right.
There was this foyer piece with like sand and Navajo shells and all these things. And I put it on Marketplace and basically had like, 100 people go through and pick up, clothes and this and that stuff that wasn't included in the sale. The guy just totally flips out when he saw the foyer table gone, started yelling. I kicked him out of the house.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I don't need to sell this house. I'll rent it. I mean, I don't need the money. So like he's yelling at my mom. I had to kick him out. And then,
my God.
And I'm like, that almost killed the deal because it just left a bad taste in my mouth with this guy just going off on this like foyer table.
It usually is like a vase or a blanket or furniture. And you're just like, what? How? Okay. Yeah, I know it's insane.
But that's happened in regular deals as well, where it's like, so now it's like, just write up the list.
Yep.
We'll have both parties sign.
Yep.
And you're good to go.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. What is the weirdest thing or situation that you've ever walked in on?
I think you mentioned the crack smoking already.
Isn't that insane? You're like, I'm like, I've never seen a crack pipe in my life. And then you walk in, you're like, oh my God. Like,
recently, because, I have to think of the deals in the last like couple of years. You
Yes.
actually wanted to see this house on Castleton
Yes.
in Claremont.
Yes.
I did a 4-month listing.
Yeah.
But I spent 3 months fixing her house up with my handyman until she moved out.
Right.
Cleaning her pool, redoing the kitchen, just, you know.
Because it needed some TLC, right?
We put about 10 into it with my handyman. She didn't pay him. The listing's up. It's on the market for 2 weeks.
No.
She's like, I'm going to move back in. And I'm like, it's staged. You moved out. We just cleaned and you smoke and you have a dog. So it's like, please don't. And she did. So I couldn't do showings. And then she just like kind of just hated the fact that I was like adamant about this is the process. This is what we agreed on.
Because she still wanted to sell, right?
Yeah, but
of course she wants to move back in. Look what you did to the place.
It wasn't moving back in. It was she just got kicked out of her friend's house where she was like crashing and stuff, and she had a storage container worth her things. So she didn't renew the listing at 2 weeks on, and she went with another agent. She price reduces like $120K, and she didn't pay me like the cost of doing business, all the money I put in. But yeah, then it sold. But you know what? Thinking about it, if she lost $120,000 just because she didn't let me finish a couple more weeks where we had offers coming in. So.
Wow.
But
unbelievable.
I mean, I'm full service. So like I was there just, I mean,
managing
I'm
all
like,
of it.
don't worry, I'll do the side yard. I'll clean the pool. I did everything. Wow. And it stinks that some people don't see that you go above and beyond.
I know. I know. It sucks. Trust me, I'm going through one right now. I totally get it. If you could be anything other than a real estate agent, what would you be and why? Anything.
I would say these headphones really pick up all of the audio. Anything. Rock star for sure. Because I used to sing in a rock band when I was a kid.
What?
Yeah, we played in PB like every other Saturday at
Oh my God, Tyler, it's like
Beach
I don't
Club.
even know. I'm going to need more information on this in another episode. That's amazing.
So I started this band with these guys. 'Cause I've been singing and playing music as a kid. But
so cool.
I just found this guitarist like on the beach one day. And I'm like, hey man, you want to do this song? And he's like, you want to start a band? And I'm like, yeah. And he has a condo at the beach, and I'm like, I'll come over, we'll write some songs. And then we got a drummer and guitar, bass player.
So cool.
And then I was a club promoter at the time.
Okay.
So I just, there wasn't like.
It was just the life.
It was just, I know how to get a party like together and get people to an event.
Yeah.
So everybody would come to our shows.
You missed your calling. Hey, if real estate doesn't pan out, go back to being a rock star.
I got in a fight with the drummer, and they kind of sided against me. I'm like, I started the band. I wrote all the songs.
This is my band, man.
So they got a new singer. I'm like, take the songs.
No.
And nobody came to the shows, and he brought down the octaves, and
that's what happens.
It wasn't as hard rock that like I had it. So
you might have to start a new band.
But I always wanted to be a rock star, be up on stage.
Let's take a vote at Reba and see who wants to be in your new band. Okay?
I'm just glad I had it for a few years. Just to do something different and go outside of your comfort zone and just try something new.
Yes.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
But at least you tried. And
exactly.
I mean, when I tell people like, you mentioned sailing, certified sailing.
Yeah.
It's like, I always like every year I pick something to do that year.
Fantastic.
And just try, do it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Usually half the time it does, but just a new sport or a new, travel somewhere new.
But that's a muscle. It's a skill. It's like, it's not mundane. It's keeping things interesting.
You got to keep it fresh.
Love.
I mean, life goes by pretty quick, right? So
it sure does.
I mean, if you're not doing something new, I want to sit down when I'm 75 and be like, wow, I kind of did everything that I wanted to do.
Oh my God. What a great way to end this. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
By the way, I had told everyone I'd be a country singer if I could be anything else, but I can't sing, so I won't be joining your band anytime soon.
Milli Vanilli style lip sync. You can do.
I could lip sync.
Go karaoke. Take the girls out.
You know what? All right, Max, you want to go? He says yes. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on, Tyler. All right, everybody. Thanks you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Behind the Lockbox is produced and edited by Property Showcase Group. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review this podcast. Thanks for your support. See you next week.